Hello and good evening, my dear students. It was a long gap since it was a transition period. I was relocating from Surat, Gujarat to Prayagraj. Now I'm back to my hometown. It took me few days because I was arranging all these devices so that I could upload proper videos. Thanks to Ajay sir who helped me manage all these things, and now we will start with our long videos. Elaborate discussion will be there on the topics. And now that today is our introductory class, we will start from zero level, from the very basic, that is language. Although we will not get into the technicality of language, we will try to understand how this language might have come into existence. Let us think about our elderly in the past, long past, when our forefathers were hunters, gatherers, when they did not speak any language, how this language might have emerged or come into existence. Think. No language at all. Nobody knows what to speak, what to write. It was the time when people were hunters and gatherers. Suppose at one place, uh, say this was place A and this was place B. At place A, there were a tribe named Alpha tribe. At place B, there was this tribe named Beta, or say Beta tribe. Alpha tribe comprised of, say, 100 members, and Beta tribe comprised 150 members. Now, the people, both Alpha tribe and Beta tribe, what were they? They were hunters and gatherers. And gatherers. They used to hunt animal. They used to gather stuff, whatever they could get to satisfy their hunger. Now, suppose whatever sources they had at place A, they hunted all the animals and consumed. Then they started gathering whatever sources they found. They gathered, they ate up. And the source here was also exhausted. Now that all the source got exhausted, some of them started dying. Same thing happened here also. Beta, they were also hunters and gatherers. They consumed whatever sources they had, say all the eatables were consumed first, followed by all the animals that they could find were killed and consumed. Now this place also exhausted its sources. Now that they did not have any source for survival, they started migrating. They started migrating from their places. However, since they did not know where to go or which path is to be taken, they did not have any knowledge, they did not have any civilization. What would they do? Some of them actually came back to their own path and found that there was no source for survival. Gradually, as their needs increased, they started thinking, wow, if this continues, we would die. So what they did, they started putting marks on the place. As they moved, they started putting such marks, symbols. Think, first symbol. We say cross. Yes, means don't go to that place. Okay, let me warn you, it is only a theory. There is no practical evidence. This is just kind of perception I'm building to make you understand how the language might have evolved. So please beware, don't try to find it in books. Anyways, so this cross simply meant don't go to that place as the sources are exhausted on that place. This might be the emergence of first symbol which had certain meaning. Now this continued. From place A, people moved. From place B, people moved. Earlier there were 100, suppose now only 20 are left here. Here we had 150, so say 25 were left. Now these 25 and 20 people started migrating and started utilizing this symbol. There was a time when these people encountered each other midway. And now when they noticed that the people from place A were moving towards place B and people from place B were moving towards place A, they might have thought maybe they are also moving to the place in search of food or sources for survival. Then they started giving some symbol along with the help of sound, which simply meant don't go to that place, as even at that place there is no food. And it was here that the origin of verbal language might have taken place or might have begun. So by now we have learned two things. One, symbol, and second, verbal. Means language or sign through sound. From this we find the very first definition. If we talk about the smallest unit of a language, what is language? We just learned it was the need of human being to exchange ideas, share ideas. What was the idea? That do not go to that place because that place does not have food. They tried to communicate this to one another, and that's how the language emerged, because of this need. Now, what do we understand about language from this story? Language is nothing but a medium. A medium. Medium of what? Of communication. Medium of communication. Now, if I ask you what is communication? Communication can be defined as exchange of ideas, thoughts, or information. Yes or no? So from here we understand the definition of a language. Language is a medium of communication. Now communication can be defined as exchange of ideas, thoughts, or information. Now then there can be n number of media to communicate. Today we are going to talk about which media? 1, verbal, and 2, written. Verbal media of communication I'm already using to exchange ideas by speaking to you people. Now we'll talk about written media of communication or written language. Now we will talk about what? Written language. Okay, now we have so many languages. If we talk about what is the smallest unit of a language, can anyone tell? Smallest unit of a language. As you can see, we have started from 0. We are talking about the smallest unit of a language. What do you think it is? Think means if we break a sentence, what will be the smallest part you get? Let me write a sentence. I am a good boy. It's a sentence, I'm a good boy. Now if we break it, we can break it into I am a good boy. We can break it into words. Can these words be called the smallest unit of a language? Can these words be further broken? If you see this I, one letter, a letter, am, two letters, good, one, two, three, four. Four letters are there, one, two, one, and then boy, three letters. Can this one letter and these letters be further broken into its part? Answer is no. So what becomes the smallest unit of a language? A letter. I have often heard people saying this alphabet, which is wrong. So from here we come to learn that a letter is the smallest unit of a language. What's the smallest unit of a language? A letter is the smallest unit of a language. Be it any language, Hindi, English, Odia, Sanskrit, Malayalam. Which is going to be the smallest unit? A letter. Remember, it's not an alphabet. It's a letter. I hope I make sense. How many letters do we have in English language? 26. How many letters? 26. From A to Z. So we started with language, moved to the smallest unit of a language, which is letter. Now let's talk about the definition of a letter. A letter is the smallest unit of a language which can be defined as, remember, symbol of sound. How do we identify this? A. We have a specific sound. L. Q. P. They have their specific sound. What do we call them? Letters. I hope I make sense here. Now I just asked you how many letters are there? There are 26 letters in English. So what if we combine all these 26 letters in a particular order from A to Z? What do we call that? That is alphabet. What's that? Alphabet. I have heard many people saying alphabets. What does that mean? What do you mean by alphabets? As far as hypernym is concerned, it can mean language. Alphabets, I know 7 alphabets, I know 7 languages, but that becomes hypernym. So I'm not going to go into that. Talking about alphabets, how can we define an alphabet? Language followed by letter, and then comes alphabet. Now let's talk about the definition of alphabet. What is alphabet? So we have a very simple definition of alphabet, and alphabet is a set of all the 26 letters arranged in a particular order, that is from A to Z. How can we define an alphabet? An alphabet is a set of all the 26 letters, it's not letters, arranged in a particular order, that is from A to Z. Question arises, do you have to remember it all? Not at all. But remember children, one question that can be asked in many competitive examination, that is alphabet. Many people make mistakes saying, my 6 alphabets were wrong, or make a word using 6 alphabets. So there are not 6 alphabets, 6 letters. You end up speaking wrong or writing wrong, so be aware of it. Otherwise, you don't have the use of definitions and all. You can keep them in mind, but you don't need to particularly remember them. Moving on, now that we have learned the definition of language, a letter, which is the smallest unit of a language, and alphabet, now we are coming into actual language. Key components of a language. What are the key components of a language? Starting with word. You know, word itself is a word. What is word then? 1, 2, 3, 4. What are they? They are letters. How many letters do we have in this word? 4. Again, why am I calling it word? What if I write these 4 words like this? Or like, would we be able to pronounce them? It's tough, right? Or we cannot. Why? Because they do not suggest any meaning. It becomes meaningless. Can they be called words? Of course not. So what is a word? A word is a group of letters. As you can see, 4 letters are here. But those letters should be arranged in a particular order. What kind of particular order? In an order that makes certain meaning or sense. Now in Gen Z world, as you see, Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, they have so many coined words. We will not talk about them. We are talking about words in general. So how can we define a word? A word is a group of letters arranged in a meaningful order. I hope it makes sense. Afterward, we have phrases. Now, what are phrases? In a bungalow, at railway station, since morning, they are all phrases. How can we define them? Now, phrases are set of words or group of words that have independent meaning. What can we call them? Phrases. Question arises, what are phrases? Phrases are a set of words or group of words that have independent meaning. Like in a bungalow, talks about place, so it becomes place adverbial or adverbial phrase. At railway station, it also talks about place. This becomes again place adverbial or adverbial phrase. Since morning, it talks about time adverbial or adverbial phrase. I hope this makes sense. We will talk in detail about phrases and clauses when we study it in the later part of the video or in some other video. So you see, when we are talking about components of a sentence, we got 2 things. One is word, second is phrase, and third is clause. But I will not explain clause here, because before explaining clause, you need to understand what are subjects and verbs. This we will be studying in elements of a sentence. Let us talk about the 4th part, which is sentence. which is sentence. Now question arises, what is a sentence? The way we did words, words were the group of letters arranged in meaningful order. Similarly, we have sentence or sentences. Now what are sentences? They are set of words arranged in a meaningful order. For example, if you have to write, I always help the poor. Now look at this word, the poor. I always help the poor. If we write, I, the poor, help always. Observe it carefully. Both are group of words. But can the second one, this is number one, this is number two, can the second word, second group of words be called a sentence? No, not at all. Why? Because it does not have any meaning or sense. However, if you observe the first one, it does give a sense, or it does give a meaning. So this becomes a sentence, whereas this one is not. So from here we get the definition. A sentence is a group of words which give a particular meaning. Now, few very important point about sentence. Always remember. Always remember. Especially students of classes 6, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th many a time. They quite often make these mistakes. So in order to avoid those mistakes, remember these 3 points about sentences. Point number 1. A sentence always begins with capital letter. A sentence always begins with capital letter. For example, my brother is a lawyer. Can we start it like this? My brother? This one is right. Second. Point number 2. It must end on, a sentence must end on any one of the following punctuation marks. Now what are they? A, full stop, that is this point. B, question mark, that is this. And C, mark of exclamation, that is this. If you skip your set of words or group of words without these punctuation mark, that will not be assumed to be a sentence. Therefore, double check when you have written something whether you have used the appropriate ending punctuation or not. And third and very important point, it should be the words in the sentence should be arranged in a logical and meaningful order. Means you can't. Many a time I have heard people saying, I don't know. I don't know. What are you speaking? Observe what kind of sentence is this. Is this sentence correct? Although you put question mark at the end, you began the sentence with capital letter, but this sentence is not logically correct because words are not arranged properly. What is the mistake? Of course, we'll discuss it in time to come. Okay, be careful. There is mistake in this part in arrangement of words. We will discuss this as we move ahead. Okay, so these are the 3 points that are to be kept in mind very carefully when writing sentences. Now, next we will move on to the next part, which is classification of a sentence. So in order to classify anything, we need certain bases. Could you tell me what are the bases on which we can classify a sentence? There are 2 bases. What are they? One is meaning and second is structure. So a sentence can be classified on 2 bases. First basis is meaning and second one is structure. On the basis of meaning, it can be classified or divided into 5 types. What are they? They are assertive, second one is interrogative, third is imperative, and fourth is optative, and last one is exclamatory. Last one is exclamatory. Let's talk about on the basis of structure. It can be divided into 3 parts. What are they? They are simple, complex, and compound. They are simple, complex, and compound. Now we will discuss each of these types one by one in the next class. So that's all for now. Thank you so much, children. I hope you might have gone through it. We started, let me give you a quick revision of whatever we did today. We started from the very basic, that was the beginning of language, and for that I created a hypothetical story which I believe might have been the story behind evolution of language. Then we saw how the language emerged through this story. This was followed by, we discussed the definition of a language. I repeat, a language is a medium of communication, which simply means exchange of ideas, thoughts, and information. We are going to discuss about verbal language and written language. We started with the written language. We talked about the smallest unit of a language, which is a letter. It can also be defined as symbol of sound. This was followed by alphabet. Alphabet is group of all the 26 letters arranged in a particular order. Then we talked about words. we defined words, then we talked about phrases, sentences, and now we are talking about classification of sentences. Now, a sentence can be classified on two bases, that is, one on the basis of meaning, second on the basis of structure. In the next class, I will be explaining it further. So that's all for now. Thank you so much. See you in the next class with the discussion ahead.